Morning, babe. Hey, I'm going to go to the supermarket this morning. Do you want me to pick up anything apart from the usual? Don't say I didn't ask. Yep, chill out. I'll do it in a second. Oh my gosh, somebody got up on the wrong side of the bed this morning. There, happy? Ow, ow, ow! What? No biting! God damn it, that's uncalled for. I'm sick of this. Well, yes, you might say we have a somewhat unconventional relationship. I love her, and she tries to eat me. But only sometimes. Most of the time, we're just like any regular couple. And I found out during this whole zombie apocalypse thing that I'm immune, which is very convenient because I have what you might call a zombie fetish, which, let's be very clear, has nothing to do with necrophilia. They crave live human flesh and they have an insatiable appetite for our brains. But apart from that, they're just like you and me. Well, it's violent, it's dangerous, but it's all part of the thrill. It's hard dating a zombie. There's a lot of baggage. It's a real culture clash, a different value system. When I realized, it's a little bit embarrassing because it had been in front of me the whole time. But you started to notice the little things, like her walk. It just reminded me of something. I couldn't quite put my finger on it. Something was out of place, and then it was the way she sounded. Like a dinosaur with asthma trying to clear its throat. I mean, that's not how a zombie should sound. And then it dawned on me. She was always just slightly out of focus. Originally, I put it down to needing glasses, waste of money, because no matter what vantage point I looked at her from, she always just looked kind of soft. Then I began to piece it together. The movements, the noises, the focus. The way that everything she did made no sense for a zombie to do. I'd fallen in love with a Znyder Zombie. What can I say? Sometimes people just grow apart. But she misrepresented who she was. I mean, what's next, parkour? Am I also going to find out she's some kind of zombie robot? Sometimes it's better to just walk away, let things die. Again. Plus, if we're being completely honest, I've always been more of a Romero guy.
Welcome everyone, my name is Guy Pigden, I am the Savage Filmmaker, and today we're going to talk all about how we created the Army of the Dead Znyder Zombie look, how you can do the same on your project, and how you don't need a $100 million Netflix budget to do it. So if you're interested in creating this crazy visual style, let's talk about it. In May, Netflix released Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. To say it's been somewhat of a polarizing film for zombie enthusiasts such as myself would probably be quite an understatement. But it has been popular, and with a whole mythology developed around it, and spin-offs already greenlit, there's no doubt you'll probably be seeing a lot more of this particular Snyderverse. Not only did Zack Snyder co-write and direct Army of the Dead, but he was also credited as cinematographer. And perhaps what has been scrutinized the most is the look Snyder created for this project. It is nothing if not original, with extreme shallow depth of field in constant use and a dreamy soft-looking bokeh underpinning almost every scene. The look was created by rehousing 50-year-old 50mm Canon rangefinder Dream lenses and pairing them with a large format 8K Red Monstro cinema camera. Yep, even Snyder's got a hard-on for vintage lenses. What makes these old Canon lenses so unique is their 0.95 aperture wide open, and the interesting flaring that the old lens coating creates under direct light. This rare combination is pretty unique, and in today's world of cinema lenses, few really have an f-stop lower than 1.4. This is really a practical choice, as opening a lens up so wide leads to incredible low light performance and magical bokeh, but also means almost nothing stays in focus, and moving even a few centimeters will shift the focal plane to the point where features fall away in total blurriness. This is often not really practical when filming characters moving around in a scene, and so lenses with apertures this low are only used in very specific situations and have generally fallen out of vogue with both photographers and filmmakers due to their impracticality. But at the end of the day, Zack's gone Zack, y'all. Now, as somebody who's made a zombie feature film, I Survived a Zombie Holocaust, available now on most streaming outlets, shameless plug, and has been known to do his own cinematography from time to time, I feel like I can speak on this subject with some authority. And while I much prefer his remake of Dawn of the Dead, this follow-up is nothing if not ambitious, and while I personally like my characters in focus, I have to at least applaud his bold choice here. But how do we get this look? Snyder had a camera which costs approximately $80,000 and the Canon Dream lens which second hand might cost you $2,000 to $3,000 on eBay. You don't have $83,000, do you? Do you? No. You don't.
You can get a DSLR, you can get a range-finding camera. These are Leicas, they're expensive, but there's plenty of affordable and cool cameras. You have one in your pocket. Every single person has one.
But we're indie filmmakers, so we're gonna do what we do best, not pay people. Just kidding. We're going to adapt, we're going to improvise, and we're going to do it for cheap. So how do we imitate this style without the $100 million budget? Well, first you need a good-looking zombie. In this case, my girlfriend. But the real credit goes to the makeup effects artist Julie Clark at Metamorphics, who created this zombie look for our skit. The pieces she used were contacts for the eyes, silicone pieces for the chin and forehead and eyebrows, and then latex layers around the cheeks. Then some very detailed, intricate painting of those layers. The cost of this material comes to approximately $80 US, but I'm afraid I can't help you with a talented special effects artist. You'll have to find one of those on your own. The makeup application all up took around 2 hours, so factor this into your shoot. Next, we need a camera to replace the $80,000 Red camera you can't afford.
You can get a DSLR.
But the key to this look is using a large format camera. In this case, large format essentially means full frame. Most cinema cameras have Super 35mm sensors, with new full frame sensor cameras such as the Canon C500 Mark II and the Sony FX6 always coming with a higher price tag.
You can get a DSLR.
So we need to go back in time to 2013 and the camera I've mentioned in the past, the beloved Canon 5D Mark III. This is the camera I filmed my new feature film on, link in the description. It's incredibly cheap to buy second hand. It's full frame and it gives you beautiful low light images. You can also download Magic Lantern software to allow you to hack the camera and record 14-bit raw footage, which in some ways kind of puts it back on par with some of the best cameras in the market today. More on that in another video. You could also use a Sony a7S III, or a more budget-friendly option would be the a7 III, if you prefer Sony cameras.
Are you saying boo or boo-earns?
If you only have a super 35mm camera for this, like a Pocket 6k or C200, you can still get a good result, but the effect will be less pronounced and dramatic. Using full frame is going to widen our field of view, which in turn will allow us to get a shallower depth of field. The depth of field being key to this whole style of shooting. I filmed all of the zombie close-ups with the Canon 5D Mark III, and anything wider on my trusty Pocket 6k Pro. Next, we need a lens. I would recommend a 50mm prime lens, as this is also what Snyder was often using. The key to this look is a low aperture, the lower the better. For me, that means using the Canon EF Sigma Art 1.4. If you want to go the vintage route and get something even cheaper on the second-hand market, the Helios 58mm 44-2, a Contax Zeiss 50mm 1.4, or the Super Takumura 50mm 1.4 will all be good options. Just don't forget an adapter mount to fit them to the camera. Next is the environment in which you film. You need to open up your lens to an f-stop of 1.4 or as low as it can go, but we also don't want to overexpose our image. There are two ways to achieve this. You can use an adjustable ND filter on the front of your lens to diffuse your light, or you can shoot at a time when the light is already quite soft and neutral. You will not get as good results if you film on a bright sunny day when the sun is high in the sky. Early mornings and late afternoons, or interiors that don't let in huge amounts of unfiltered natural light, will be the best option. In this case, I did not use an ND filter, but chose to film in my flat using the late afternoon light. I set my ISO low, around 160 or 200. At this time of day, I could then open up my aperture completely, but retain a relatively well-exposed image. You'll also need your camera to be manual focus. You will not get good results with your camera constantly hunting and trying to find focus, as you're essentially asking the camera's autofocus system to break a lot of rules it's used to you following. Next, you need to position yourself as close to your subject as possible, as close as your lens will allow. All lenses have a minimum focal distance, which dictates how far away from the lens your subject needs to be to remain in focus. You need to find this position and basically film right at the edge of this distance, as close as you can while still maintaining critical focus. You can then move back slightly anytime you lose focus altogether. You also want to be filming handheld. If you're filming handheld, anytime you move the camera or your arms reposition, a new section of your subject will drift into focus. You can accentuate this movement yourself to find different things to focus on. On this shoot, I was filming 14-bit RAW with Magic Lantern software at 1080p. I then upscaled the footage to UHD ProRes using the MLV app for editing. However, be warned, this will lead to some very chunky file sizes. Finally, in Premiere or Resolve, you just need to desaturate your image and add a little bit of green and blue to give it that quintessential Snyder feel. And there you have it, our indie filmmaking DIY style Znyder Zombie look, made for approximately $82,000 less in camera gear and over $100 million less in overall budget. So hey, if it's not perfect, at least you save some money.
You can get a DSLR. You have one in your pocket. Every single person has one. Every single person has one.
Every single person has one.
I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you'd like to see my own zombie horror comedy feature film, I Survived a Zombie Holocaust.
Does anyone besides me actually watch zombie films? Vampires are a lot sexier.
You can check the links in the description. As always, I am the Savage Filmmaker, and I'll catch you in the next one.